Hannah Reichel, she's a theologian out of Princeton Seminary who studied particularly German theologians in the mid-20th century. And she has written a small book. It just got published this year. And it's titled, "For Such a Time as This, an Emergency Devotional." I love that title. Never think of devotionals as emergency. Now, Reichel is known for her study of Karl Barth, a Swiss theologian who lived and wrote during the time, the rise of Hitler and of the totalitarian regime he embodied. And while she asserts in this tiny little book, she's not saying history is repeating itself, as every context is different, and we do well, she says, to attend to the complexities of our world today. She does see similarities. The alarming changes from a functioning constitutional democracy to something more profoundly authoritarian. One of the similarities is the ways in which an authoritarian regime overwhelmed the population with an intentional strategy meant to shock and awe, to overwhelm and debilitate, to create panic and scatter energies. She says the projection of unstoppable power will be self-fulfilling if you let it. Evil, she claims, draws power from attention. Evil draws power from fear. Don't give it more power. And she uses the image of a storm to describe what's happening. It's not an illusion, she says. Its dangers are real. Even so, she says, don't let it be a distraction. No one can pay attention to all the things all the time. The highest waves raise your alarms and may hide more inconspicuous but forceful blows to follow. The waves may or may not crush you, she says, but focusing on them will keep you from attending to really what matters most to you. Don't, she says, let the storm steal your focus. That spoke to me because I must confess, I'm struggling not to lose my focus these days. Seen in myself, I think I've seen in others around me, a sense of anxiety, a sense of fear about what is going on, fueled by the latest headlines, the latest crisis, soldiers patrolling streets of major cities, ICE raids, where without due process, people are arrested and children are zip-tied on television, government shutdown, threats of layoffs, the ever-present angry rhetoric dividing us and pitting us against each other. The storm is real. So you wouldn't be surprised that Reichel sees in the story we read this morning from the Gospel of Mark a metaphor for our struggles today. We find ourselves like those disciples in that boat, overwhelmed by the storm. The waves crashing against the boat, threatening to swamp and throw us over, the fear, the anxiety, and Jesus, for all intents and purposes, I like this image, just seems to be asleep in the boat. So they wake him, accuse him of not caring that they seem to be dying. I think all of us can relate to moments in our lives overwhelmed by the storms of life, whether that be grief or struggles with work or struggles in family, that feeling like a boat's about to be tossed over. Where are you, Jesus? Are you sleeping in the stern? Jesus stands and shouts out, "Be calm, be still." And I actually think those words are as much intended for the disciples as it was for the windstorm-tossed waves. Be calm and be still, disciples, Jesus says. Have faith even in the midst of the storm. Do not be afraid. Don't lose your focus. Have your eyes and hearts rooted on the one who showed you the way of love, peace, and justice. The one who rides with us in the storm-tossed boat. Be calm and be still and have faith. Now, I don't know about you, but those words, while hopeful, are very difficult to embody. Be calm, be still, have faith. And I struggle to hear that call of Jesus, but there are times when I might catch glimpses of that possibility. In my own life, when I don't let the storm steal my focus. There are times I find calmness and stillness when I am gathered here on Sunday mornings with you, right? There are times I find that calmness and stillness when I am part of a community that cares for me and that I can care for them. There are times when I find that calmness and stillness and faith when I turn off the TV or computer and don't read another headline. When I walk in the trees, in nature, when I go to a museum and admire art. When I walk with brothers and sisters in peaceful protest. Be calm and still and have faith when I see in the embodiment of God expressed in Jesus Christ, who is able to order the wind to be calm and still, when I look to him and see the God of love and compassion and grace, as the choir sang, I don't know how you picked this, Peter, but we shall overcome with love. We shall overcome with grace. I saw that, I don't know if many of you saw this on the news this week. I felt maybe pride is too strong a word, but I felt inspired by the Reverend David Black. Anybody know who that was? See, hopefully y'all tuned out of the news maybe. But Reverend David Black's a Presbyterian pastor in First Presbyterian Church, Chicago. And he's part of a group of pastors, of ecumenical leaders who are going to a ICE detention center and are peacefully standing outside singing hymns, standing outside kind of praying for those who were in there, trying to let people know in that detention center that they're not alone, which is something Jesus would do over and over. We're not alone. God is with us. They even have had, in my understanding, they even do communion outside that ICE detention center. And like I said, they sing songs of hope and peace, of Christ who embodies that inclusion and grace, and they try to witness. Well, this past week, ICE officers shot Pastor David Black with a pellet, what's it called? the gas pellet or something, while he's holding his hands up in prayer, praying over them, which knocked him down to the ground, and the other protesters gathered around him, caring for him. And that image of him standing there, even as he's hit in the head with tear gas, made me think of Jesus standing in the boat. Be calm, be still, have faith. To God be the glory this day and forevermore. Amen.